Welcome back to another hot day in the Pole Barn Garage, on Pole Barn Garage. We're back with the 64 Lemans, and as promised, we're going to be digging into this thing, giving it an at-home restoration that anybody can do. JD?
Yes?
Let's strip this thing out on the inside, and we have a lot of rust repair to do inside of the car on the roof. We're going to need to pull the front and rear glass out of the car, I think, and get it stripped down to the studs. You're going to start yanking the seats?
Yeah.
Cool. So far, the only interior piece I have for the car is the new package tray back here. That we're going to need a lot more than just that. I'll start removing the windshield trim and try not to completely destroy it. Top trim's got to come off first. If you use a plastic pry tool, you'll have your best shot at not destroying it. You want to find where the clips are, push down, and out. Well, thankfully they're really rusty and they just break, so problem solved. I don't know if I want to know what's underneath this. Oh boy. Holes! Look at all this dirt. This is why they rot out around the windshield frames. It sucks dirt in. It's like a Hoover. This is a problem here.
Yeah.
Oh no. Well, it should make getting the window out pretty easy.
Hey, it came out.
That was tough. You know, it's actually not as bad under there as I was afraid it would be. It's bad on that side.
Pretty bad.
But I can fix that. It must not have been anything holding that.
Yeah.
One down. JD found drugs.
Yeah.
Woo!
There's nothing actually in it though, unfortunately.
Oh, let me clean this up and see what we have to work with in here. Not much, I can tell you that right now. The car's just disintegrating. Yeah, we got our work cut out for us here. Oof, that's bad. Now the car came with the lower piece here to fix this. However, to put this in, you got to pull the dash. It goes under the A-pillar, it goes under the cowl, which this part's removable, but I'm not going to do any of that. If you're looking for like perfectionist restoration, I'm not your guy, okay? If I can't see it, I don't care. But I do want the rust at least negated, you know? So I'm thinking what we do is cut this right on this line, and we'll use this channel to repair as much of this as we can, and then we'll fill in the rest with scraps of metal and some weld, fill and prime and bodywork the top of this dash. I think this part of it is pretty, I can do this. Get up in here, basically you just got to make a 90-degree piece of metal and put that in. That's not that bad. It's here is where our problem is going to be. This is what the headliner attaches to. So we're going to have to remake that as well. And that can be done after we fix the windshield frame. That's a little more important. I'm going to start cutting out the rust here on the dash. That way we can put this in. We'll treat all the metal before we actually throw it together. We can butcher this pretty much as badly as I ever would want to, and it will last longer than the car will last, as long as the rust is out. And you get a smaller cutoff wheel so I can get in here easier. Good news is just outside of that rust, this metal's in really good shape. It's still good enough to weld to. I think I'm gonna have to take all these screws out that hold the window trim clips in. That's fine by me. They're just self-tappers anyway, so when we go to put the trim back on, I can either have them glue the trim on or just shoot some screws back into it. Had to engage safety mode, tuck in my shirt so it didn't get caught up in the cutoff wheel. I'm just trimming out the window gutter out of this. I don't want the rest of it, and I don't want to deal with the rest of that crap. Way more work than it's worth. So I got that channel cut out, and I'm just kind of fitting it in here. Trying to see where I want it. I really don't want to cut all this out. I don't really need to. That 1/16 of an inch of metal is not going to make any difference with how the window glues in here. What I'll do is probably put her in something like this. And then I have to trim these edges on the sides, because this again is supposed to be underneath the 8-miller. Then I can weld it across the front, weld it across the back down to this groove, and then we just, you know, put a coat of filler on it and she'll be good to go. And finessing this into shape, JD's yanking the door panels. We get this in here and I'll feel a little more motivated once we have some metal in here. Then I'll feel better about things. Alright, I think I've got that pretty much how I want it. So before I do anything, I'm going to spray some of this rust converter in here, because I'm not cutting everything out. I know that's not the right way to do it or whatever, but if I do this, it'll kill whatever's there, and it does a pretty good job of getting rid of rust. I mean, it doesn't get rid of it, it just kind of seals it in, but I don't know what it's going to do when I weld to it. Probably make some kind of poisonous gas.
Yeah, probably.
I'm going to weld it to this part first, because this part's still here. There's not a lot of good grounds on this thing. Do that about 4,000 times. Wanna try?
Yeah.
So just to make a little, get it hot, you just want to see a little red spot, and just make a little half circle, and that's it.
Okay.
You're going to want to shoot this way, okay? Don't go this way. Go perpendicular to the metal. Let it get, you want to see a little nugget, and then you're done. A little more than that.
Oh, okay,
that's a nugget. But see how you burn the top edge?
Yeah.
That's where the half circle comes in. So get your nugget. You don't need to move that much. Just a little tiny motion. There you go. Move in a little bit closer to it. Your wire's hanging way out of there, so just let it burn and push it in, you know.
Okay.
There you go. That is a good spot weld. Beautiful. Yeah, that's excellent. Do that, and you're good. I mean, it's a flux core, so it's going to be ugly, but that stuck the metal together. JD, you're the master welder now. I even got you a Yes Welder helmet. Yes Welder? Yeah. What the hell kind of name is whatever. You finish welding. I'm working on making this patch here to fill this enormous void. I've just got a bunch of scraps, and we're just gonna build the whole car out of scraps. And my level of caring is already gone. Actually, look at us. We're just like those idiots on TV, fabrication people, whatever they are.
You just gotta hold this part so you can see.
Why? Does it just go dark?
Yeah,
I think you need to turn the sensitivity up.
I did.
All hail the nibbler. That doesn't look too bad, Jay. You need to grind it to see what we're working with.
Yeah.
Would you like me to open that?
Yes.
I made this panel here, which is not bad, actually. I'm going to cut this out to where I can put this in place of it, so I don't have a lot of room to blend on this dashboard here. If I was doing it on like a quarter panel, I'd definitely go right over the top. Let's see if I can do this right. Does our new piece fit? Yeah, it does. Look at that.
That fits pretty good.
Not bad. Not bad for homegrown. I think I need to maybe trim this side just a little bit, but there. It'll probably keep that plastic from melting. There we go. Look at that. That's actually the right way to do it. Congratulations. There, I proved it. I can do things the right way. I just refuse to, okay? It's work. I don't like work. Yeah, I'm kind of a fabricator. Probably better than Chris Birdsong, that's for sure. I mean, you know, that guy's a hack. I mean, what a hack, you know. I heard he's bringing some clapped out pile of garbage to duct tape drags. I mean, probably won't even pass tech. Imagine bringing a car down there and not even passing tech because your car is such a pile of shit. I mean, oh, Birdsong. You know, someday you might be as good as me. And now we can resume our typical butcher work here when we get to the, I don't know, not as significant stuff, but more difficult, because we have this speaker grate here, and anything I do here is going to jack up that grate. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take the inside lip of this channel, because it's skinny, and it's got the right shape to it. I'm going to take him out. I'm going to butt him from this piece of metal, probably all the way over to here, and it'll have the right bend to it. So we get a little metal in there. We can attach the window channel to it, maybe get a couple of tacks up in this area, and then we're going to come in with some short strand glass and just make it look right. It's not going to be 100% attached like it's supposed to be, but it'll be close. So you're going to bed line the floors?
Yep.
Sounds good. You do that. I'll keep fiddle-dicking around with this, trying to make some, just, you know, rebuilding the car with scrap metal is all. We got a lot of grinding to do yet. I did this one just to kind of demonstrate. That's going to look great. I had to do like 3 different pieces all the way across here just to attach that. We'll have to grind it and probably fill some stuff, but this is a really good start. The car has a lower window frame now, so we're already miles ahead of where we were. If you wonder why I don't put this level of care into all the cars we do, that's because I've been doing this for like 3 hours and I've only done the lower window channel. It takes a lot of time. This is looking pretty good, man.
It is.
I'll help you out here. I don't want to grind on that. Throw shit at you. You know why this is taking you so long, JD? You're
What?
doing it all wrong. This is how you do it.
Oh. Okay.
Then you just, you know,
Uh-huh.
yeah, there we are. And now the car will last until the end of time. There we go. We didn't do the floors, but they look damn good. The car top and bottom is now bed lined. And I think we'll use some POR 15 around the window frame. Return for another day here. It looks, I'm still pleased with it for flux core. I'm going to do a lot of grinding on this. I want to get this all smoothed out, and then we're going to move up here and see if we can help that out. I'm calling that part good enough. You know, there's 1,000 pinholes in it. The windshield urethane's going to fill all of that. And we're going to coat this thing in POR 15. It's just never going to be an issue again. Guaranteed for at least probably the rest of my life. But hey, you know, my grandkids might have to deal with a rust hole in it. I forgot about this. I need to fix that. So I'm going to cut this out, patch that in. Likewise here. That's the only 2 spots on the exterior that actually show. So those have to be done a little bit better. You know, like little holes like that, I'm really not worried about. If we treat that, it's not going to go anywhere, and the windshield urethane will seal that up, no problem. So I'm not even going to touch that. This I'm going to have to touch. Let's do the exterior parts. That way we can just call the lower part done, and then I'll move it up here. You can see that this is going to fit in there, at least part of it will, but I need to take a little bit off the top. Pretty well got it where I wanted in there, I think. So I'm going to use this magnet to kind of hold it up in the hole. And I want to make sure it's lower than the rest of it, so I can just put a skin coat of glass over that and she'll be good to go forever. Is it the correct way to repair it? No. Will it last forever? Yeah, pretty much. There's that. That's a pretty decent little repair there. We'll grind that off and it'll be ready for just a little skin coat. Same deal there. I don't care about the rust underneath. What do I care? We'll never see it. It'll never affect a damn thing. I need to cut that dude out there, but let's finish off this. This little scrap I just found on the floor just about fits in there perfect. That'll work. This metal's pretty thin. I can't fill that with weld, but I always keep little scraps of steel around that I trimmed off of something. And I should be able to snip that down and kind of use it like a filler rod and then fill that in, and at least it'll all be steel. And then there you can see a couple of tacks on that. Have got it starting to fill in the gaps there. And, I mean, obviously grind it, fill in the pinholes, and you know, that's a pretty decent little repair. And obviously everything looks better with a grinder, but not bad. And a little bit of glass, fill that in. There's no rust. It's not going to pop back out. Let's move on to the top. This is spot welded to the inner structure, which is also missing, but I'm not going to pull that inner structure. Stuff like this, I really don't care. You don't see it. But what I am worried about is I just want the windshield to go in and be solid and good to go. So let me finish cutting this off, ripping these spot welds out. And then we'll be able to put another piece of metal right over the top of that in there, I hope. Something like this ought to do the trick. It's going to give us at least something to attach the damn windshield to. That's the key here. That's what we really want. That's why I went through that trouble. And then we're going to put in another piece to make that 90 up in here. I think that would be the easiest way, is just to tack in another piece going horizontal into that. I'm leaving a lot of rust under there, but there is a point where you got to say, okay, that's far enough, right? We could cut and cut and cut, but at the end of the day, what I would need is a whole nother damn car to get all that brace and structure out of. They don't make all of this. They make a lot of this, but they do not make all of it. And nobody's ever going to see this stuff, so this is good enough for me. May not be good enough for you. I don't really care. I don't care what you do with your car. All I know is that by the end of the month, this car will be on the road and painted, most likely. Maybe next month. I've got a couple other projects going. Yeah, that's a good start. You know, it's just kind of like Legos. You know, we gotta keep building from here. This looks like a quarter panel from Dad's Nova. I think this little bend and groove right here will work pretty good on the top side of that to fill that in. It's got a bit of a curve to it, so I'm gonna chop this out of here, try to get that in place. I'm just gonna put it right over what's here. That's going to be just fine. We treated the metal, and it, it isn't perfect or anything. It will come back in 20 years. Well, as long as a window will fit in here, this is pretty good. It's a little bit shorter than it's supposed to be, so hopefully that's not a problem. But I could throw the broken windshield in it just to see where it's going to land, I guess. If I kept this around for a reason. Shit, it'll work just fine, I think. Yeah, I can be proud of that. It's just about supper time, so I'm going to have to dive into this later or maybe tomorrow. Here's my biggest concern is this. Right here, the windlace for the headliner goes here. And also, I mean, you can see, oh man, it's just so bad. Unbelievably bad. So, we're gonna patch it up just to put some strength back into this roof. But before I call it for today, I'm gonna POR 15 this entire window frame. Now, this stuff is incredibly expensive, but it works. $50 for this. I'm gonna coat all this. That way it's just never a problem again. It's gonna seal in all the stuff we didn't fix. I only used this stuff like once, and that was enough to learn you don't want to get it on you. Maybe wear gloves. I don't know. I don't care what you do. Oh shit, I have to pull that out. It's all full of metal shaving. I'm just gonna paint everything in this channel with this. I know it does take some time to dry as well, so that'll be perfect. I can go eat my supper in peace. You know, while I'm at the POR 15, maybe I'll see what this back window looks like. Fortunately, this window also just, you know, removes itself, I think. Yeah, there it goes. Not much holding that in. However, it does look like it's in significantly better shape than the front, at least. So maybe we just POR 15 the whole bit, and I'll call that good enough. This is to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'll just have the guy urethane the shit out of it. It'll be fine. So I'm just going to coat all the rust. I mean, it's just rusty metal. There's a few holes, but it's my car. I'm keeping it. You know, maybe 10, 15 years from now, I come back and I do it right, kind of like we did the front. But right now, it's just, I don't really think it's worth the effort. We got a lot of other work to do, and that's how you got to balance things. At least that's how I do it. Otherwise, you'd be here forever working on the same thing, and your car's in pieces, and everybody asks you, hey, where's your car? When are you going to get that done? And then you die, and then your wife and kids scrap it. No thanks. I want to drive the car, and I only have so much patience. So that is repaired, kind of. This is repaired, like, for realsies. I think I'm going to shift gears. I started this off, I was thinking of doing the interior. It doesn't really make any sense. I mean, while it's all gutted, why don't we just do the body work of the car? There's not that much to do. Future Dalton pities past Dalton and his naivety. Still got to fix the inside of that. I think after we do that, I'm going to start stripping this thing, and maybe we can get in a coat of primer before the end of this episode. I'm afraid there's probably not a lot of fixing this up here. I mean, it's bad. I could throw a dog through this thing. I'm just going to put some metal right over the top. Hopefully brace this up, and at the same time get our lip here for our windlace to go on so we can actually install a headliner in the car. This is a panel flanger, and we need to put a little bit of a flange on it to kind of stick out past the edge so that we can install a headliner. He just makes a little flange. It's really good for making patch panels and stuff. And it's not much of one. We probably need a little more than that, but it'll give us something we can bend from at least. I'm just going to shoot a couple self-tappers into this to hold it in place. I think I've got it where I want it. I need to reattach this to that roof brace too. I sprayed everything in a rust converter. That's dumb. I should have done that yesterday. It's mighty ugly, but I think it'll work. Let's tack it in all along this back edge or wherever we possibly can. And that'll hold it in place, and it's not going to be perfect, but you know, that windlace stuff is pretty flexible. I think I can probably cover up my sins here. The only thing I hate more than welding is welding above my head. Hey, let me show you the magic here. Yeah, look at that. Isn't that awful? Perfect. I just remembered that that actually screws into place, the thing that the windlace goes on. So hey, this is better. Maybe. There was nothing to screw one to, otherwise I would have bought one. I reinforced around the sun visor, that should work. Reinforce this a little bit. And I'm just going to leave the rest. We'll POR 15 it and hope for the best. Windlace goes on this lip here as well. And I'm just going to use this piece of shelving to weld in here. You'll never see it, it's fine. At least it'll be reinforced. There's nothing like the smell of welding galvanized metal in the morning, let me tell you. Got my POR 15 here. This all looks totally prepped to me, for sure. And hopefully this will just kind of keep things alive. I know. I could cut all this out. I could try to make it. I'm probably just going to make it worse if I do that, though. So let's just leave it. We've got her solid. Everything's braced up, and it'll be under the headliner, and we can just forget it was ever there. And I'll probably just go ahead and coat the whole underside of this roof in it. 3,000 years from now, when the Planet of the Apes happens, the roof of this Lemans will remain. There we are. That's all coated. Let that set up. I don't want to get a bunch of dust in it. It will come back out. Start sanding. I want to get this dash finished off. We got some rust holes to do in the dash here. The stuff inside the car, I'm just going to glass it, man. There's really no reason to cut that up. I mean, it's never going to see moisture, theoretically. Then we're going to move to the outside of the car. Pretty much this whole car will have to be taken to bare metal. That's because it's painted with lacquer paint. This is checking. It's where the solvents and the lacquer are trying to escape and have escaped. And it leaves behind a checked surface like that. Bodywork time, thank God. My favorite part. I'm going to hit all this with 80, strip off the metal of the dash. I'm going to try to avoid this plastic instrument cluster here. Good job for you.
Yes.
And pull the door handles off, the door lock cylinders out of it.
Okay.
And the wheel well trim, rocker moldings, you know, mirrors. Glad this thing has the metal dashboard. It sure makes refinishing it a lot easier. Even the plastic stripped down pretty good. Now that could be chrome plated or body color. If you'll notice, the chrome plating was under the body color. So depending which way you ordered it, they'll paint it or no. Let me get some glass out and start getting this stuff in shape, as well as that rust hole I need to grind out down here. We're going to do a little butcher work to go with our correct rust repair. You know, you get the best of both worlds here. Once upon a time, when I was a kid, my dad had a 64 Chevelle. Basically the same car as this. And it had a rust hole in this exact same spot. My dad came home from work one night, working nights, and I woke up, went outside, and he had a Quick Trip bag. It's a gas station here. And he took his plastic Quick Trip bag, wadded it up behind the dash, and filled a rust hole, this exact same place. He sold the car, bought something else, Fast forward about 15 years, I see the car at a big car show, nice car show. And the car's been totally restored. It's got a late model engine in it. It's really nice. I thought it might be the same car. And the guy didn't really know who I asked. Opened the door up and I reached my hand up behind here. And there was a plastic Quick Trip bag. Still mudded into the dash. No bubbles. Nothing. And it had been that way for about 15 years. And the guy had no idea because he just bought the car. Didn't know anything about cars. I was like, well, look at that. And he just freaked out about it. And I said, why don't you relax, dude? It's been in there for 15 years at that time, and it's probably still in there another 10 years later. What I have here is short strand fiberglass. This is fiberglass reinforced body filler. It is rust proof, waterproof, whatever you put it on, it's staying that way. So anytime you do a patch, you really ought to put a coat of short strand over the top of it. That's just general good practice. Let's say you don't patch it, and you're just stuffing a hole full of something. This stuff will give you the best life it can. You can see I've got a tape line ran on the plastic here because I don't want to get it on there. So this will really reinforce that patch. And we can even, because it's waterproof, we can kind of use it to fill in that seam where our many pinholes are. Not that there would ever be any pinholes with my flux core welding. Oh no. See, JD, that's why I had you do some of it so that you can get the blame. There we are. It'll make an excellent base layer for a little bit of filler. Get all that filled in there. This will be good to go forever. You're pulling trim. We're filling the missile box with the trim, as is tradition. Yep, got some fighters.
Yeah.
JD's grinding off the screw heads of the wheel well trim. How's that going?
It's going pretty good. That's one already, so.
Slow going, but that's sometimes the only way to do it. We're all set up here. Here's a little trick for you. If you're ever trying to gob something full of fiberglass, shove your spreader up on it like this. That'll kind of hold that glass in there as it sets up. How much of that is left? Wow, it's really not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
I was expecting to see much worse. Still waiting on that glass to set all the way up, so I'm going to use my 8-inch DA with some 80 grit, and that'll make quick work of stripping off whatever this primer is and also the original paint of the car. Give us an idea of what we're working with. Even when you're just stripping off the old paint on something, keep your DA or whatever you're using flat. You want it flat because you can see I've got hail damage all over this thing. Couldn't see it before. Well, I stripped this off. Anywhere where there's primer or rust left, that's a dent or a ding or whatever. This thing is absolutely pummeled with hail damage, which is to be expected. You know, there's just one little tip there. Don't get hung up on, well, I gotta do this one thing. No, you can do a couple things at the same time. Very common for Pontiacs in this area to split right there on the crest of the hood. A couple little tacks ought to take care of that. Blowing right through it. This hood's actually very rusty underneath. I really should replace this hood, especially with the hail damage, but the new hood's you can only get a GTO hood. It's $1,200, not including the chrome inserts, which is another $400. I'm gonna just try to roll with this one for a while, and same with the deck lid. You know, maybe the next time we do the car down the road, we'll replace those. All right, our glass is all dry, so we're ready to grind. Now, I'm not trying to make it perfect right now. All I'm trying to do is get a rough shape. Then we'll actually do our final shaping with body filler. This side over here, I am going to use a DA to shape it. And that's because those pieces we welded in are on top of the dash. You've got this whole lip here to blend it in. You got to blend in a 1/16 of an inch. That's really no problem at all. You do want to make sure that your base layer of fiberglass is carrying that transition so your filler can just fall right into place. We're actually taking the time to remove the side louvers off of the car. I know, it's rare. Also, look at that. That looks tremendous. Skim coat of filler, and I'm talking less than a credit card thickness, and that will be gone and no one will ever know what happened. I think it's a good thing we pulled those louvers off though. I mean, you can see the rust actually starting. Behind them right there. We probably just saved that quarter panel. Now, body filler is one of those things you don't want to cheap out on. Always use a good quality product. I like U-Pole Gold or Evercoat Rage is a really good product. Whatever you do, don't use Bondo brand body filler. I haven't ground my filler in the dash yet because it is still tacky. That's a little alarming. It may have to come back out of there. I might not have got it mixed well enough. Although it dried out here, no problem. Maybe it'll dry by tomorrow. JD, you got all them louvers off?
Yes.
Nice.
You want the rocker?
Yeah, better get the rocker panels off too. There's going to be a screw in the front and back, and then 2 screws underneath into the body of the car, most likely.
Okay.
And then they clip on the rest of the way. We don't need it to be perfect up here on the dash, so as long as it's smooth, it'll be good enough. You don't want to just fill the bad spot or just the spot that you're working. You want to go past it. Leave yourself some room to blend because you're never just going to get it and nail it just right. You know, it's got to be blended into the panel. That looks pretty good. Nice and smooth. Let that cure, knock it down, and we should be good. Now, on the outside of the car, you would need to block and check, you know, a few times. But here we have a little bit of wiggle room to not be exactly perfect. But you can tell it's not going to be bad. Just yank this wheel well trim, and yeah, we got our work cut out here too. Yeah, I'll probably patch it right here. You know, we don't got it perfect because this wheel well trim covers it up, so I feel pretty comfortable just making a patch for that. Probably up in here too. Take this thing down to bare metal and see what we're working with. Got to this one just in time too. Thank God. Otherwise we'd be needing a fender. Rockers look good. That's because they're actually galvanized on these cars. Usually aren't going to have too much rust in your rockers because of that. I'm going to knock the heads down on this filler here. And we'll probably have to come in here and hand sand it to get the shape we need. On the passenger side of the dash, where we had it overlapped there, is like dead on, dead nuts, perfect. Needs a little spot cutting maybe, but that's it. This side is a little bit warped, I think, from the heat of welding it. And so we're going to have to level it out somehow. Same with our patches on the cowl here. They're not bad, they're just little wonky. How I'm going to do that, now that we've got a coat of glass, coat of filler on it, is with some glazing putty, otherwise known as icing. Basically, very, very fine grit body filler. You just lay it on super thin, and it levels out small imperfections. Not a huge fan of this U-Pole Fantastic, but it is cheap, and my local parts store carries it on the shelf, so it's what I always end up buying. I think I'm going to spread it out this way just a bit more, just to be able to blend it out a little bit more. Probably just go ahead and skin the whole front edge of that panel. Knock it down flat, prime it, block it, and it'll be done. Well, we're back out this morning, and it's looking to be a hot one. So thankfully, today's video is brought to you by Liquid IV. Liquid IV is the hydration multiplier. I mean, I think we all know what it is and how good this stuff really is. It's got 8 vitamins and nutrients in it, and it hydrates more effectively than water alone, which is good. When I get working out here, I kind of forget to drink, and then I get real dehydrated and even more dumb than usual. You guys see me drinking anything around here, usually I got Liquid IV in there, you know. Shake her up. This one is the new one I haven't tried yet. The Rainbow Sherbet. Kind of tastes just like rainbow sherbet, actually. That's a little unnerving. For a limited time only, you can use my code PoleBarnGarage and get 25% off your order of Liquid IV. I like this stuff. We keep it in stock all the time around here because I'm almost always outside, and it has been so hot this summer. We're going to be going to Arizona next month. You could bet your bottom dollar. Well, I'm going to need a lot more than this. Thanks to Liquid IV for sponsoring this video. Make sure you check out the link in the description and use my code and save you some money. Anyway, back to sanding. I'm going to hand sand this cowl panel until it feels right. If we can get it close, we can get the rest of it with primer. Allow me to enter the dust bowl in here, and this glass on the dash did finally kind of set up. Pulled the glove box door off so we could get in there and sand a little easier. Should have done that in the first place, I guess, but here's an example of how we're going to do that dashboard. A little self-etching primer over the bare metal spots. Yeah, this stuff, basically it treats the bare metal. It also kind of treats rust. if you leave any, like on the edges, you know. It'll help our interior paint stick to that and stay on it. Spread a little mud on the dash. That'll be done after that. One thing to note here, if you're cheap like me, always have a plan B to use your filler on. You know, like this, there was a ding right there. Now there's not. Just little stuff, and you just put a wipe on and it's done. If you can have one of those as a backup, you don't waste your extra filler. Now that spot on the hood was pretty clean where I wiped that on at, but it just occurred to me that there's kind of a haze of rust on this thing. So a real light dusting of this self-etching primer will actually really help us out. As far as applying our filler goes, now you don't always have to do this. Everyone says, you gotta put primer under filler. Well, you really, not always. That filler there is direct to metal. Not all filler is, however, so that's kind of where that comes from. I'm gonna remove the trim off the front here, then I'm gonna dig into this fender, get it stripped, and then we'll see how much rust repair we're in for here. These grills out of here, it'd be a really good time to repaint these while we get these out. These things are in nearly perfect condition and worth a small fortune. And one other thing to note, when you are stripping a panel, right, don't just hit the damn thing with a grinder. You'll build up a lot of heat in the panel, and you're also going to etch the thing terribly bad. So use a DA or an 8-inch DA, not an orbital. It's a dual action, and that means it moves up and sideways in there, and you know, you're not digging ruts in the metal. Old lacquer paint is soft, so what that means is it's going to gum up your paper. It might do you well to go to a coarser grit paper for your stripping, so I'll probably jump up to some 40 grit and see if we can get that off a little bit quicker. But I was hoping 80 grit would do it, but I don't think it's gonna. If it was in better shape, it would come off easier, but when it gets old and checked like this, I mean, the stuff just turns to glue. I'll use my leftover piece of 80 here in the gap here, because I don't want to waste material. Now, every DA has a lock mode that you can put in to help grind. If you need it, I use with caution, but this warrants it. This one here, you push this little plate and it just locks that orbiting shaft. You still orbit, right? It's not a perfect circle, but it does lock one of the motions. It'll remove material easier. Now the heel of this fender here has got a pretty big rust hole in it. It's a bubble at the moment. It's about to become a void. That's a pretty big hole. That'll be easy to fix though. This, however, is not going to be very easy to fix. Not a lot of room in here. I don't care what it looks like under here because the trim covers it, but we got to make sure that this part is good. I may just end up stitching a bunch of metal in here as best as we can. I really just want to gob this full of chicken wire and fiberglass, but I won't. I got that out in one piece there, so hopefully that'll help us make a new one a little bit easier. There's like a whole ass tree in here. I'm like not a bad body man, and I'm not a bad painter, but I'm not a very good fabricator, so I need all the help I can get. I mean, I'm not kidding. There is a tree in here. What the hell? There's a limb. I'm gonna lay our old part on this piece of metal here. Well, about half of this is pretty decent. I got a little off on my anglage. Let me go ahead and buzz in this piece. Then we can kind of work from there. Sinfully hideous, but we're getting somewhere. At least we have the metal in there. I can build from the metal, as long as there's no rust. I'll have to put this top piece in, but I think I'll put this bottom piece in to give it some structure first. I think I'm going to have to grind that to shape. I do so much recycling. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of an eco-warrior. Oh yeah, it's going to work really well. I don't want to jinx myself, but I gotta say, this is going better than I anticipated. Well, this is ugly as hell. I just kept burning through back here. That means the metal's real thin. It is what it is. Short strand fiberglass will fix that up. Let me get some self-etching primer on here. And then we'll put some glass down on it. And we're just going to call that repaired. It's a damn sight better than it was. Oh, mighty short strand, do your job. Yes, just glob it in there. We can always take it back off if we don't want it. Lay it on enough that we can build a shape out of it. We want more of this than body filler. All there is to that. All right, while we wait for that to set up, I'm going to go ahead and turn my attention to the heel of this thing. This will be a much easier patch to make. It's just flat. That'd be pretty easy to make. I'm competent enough for that. Got some random metal laying around to make this patch with. And this will work pretty dang good. Think so, anyway. We can fill in a little bit of a gap with weld. So that ought to do it. Get this baby glassed in. I ground her down. It's not perfect. There's a lot of voids in it, and it's fine. All the rust is gone. It's good enough. Once again, I mixed up way too much. All glassed in there, knocked this down. That's ready for some mud. It's pretty much good to go. I didn't get a lot done today. Fact is, JD starts school tomorrow, and then I got windows getting put in the house tomorrow too. Just kind of a busy week around here. That's why this video is a little bit late, if you noticed, but we're gonna get her done one way or the other. I've been out this morning just tinkering away a little bit. Got the dash pretty well squared away. A little spot putty on there, no big deal. Over there looks really good. This is pretty much done. So let me get some filler in that. And what we need to do here is try to identify any other dents or waves or anything like that. You know, so we're prepared. You know, we'll have a prime and block coat that we can get stuff in, but if you catch it now, sure is going to make life easier. And I can tell there's a dent right here. Not much of one, but just a little bit of a wave in it. A little skin coat of filler. Again, we're talking less than a credit card thickness, and that's gone. That's pretty straight otherwise. A few door dings. Those are all door dings. These, boom, boom. Let me finish stripping it, and then we'll try to finish this fender. Then maybe the hood. Then maybe the other fender. One panel at a time. Now, you don't have to get every single scrap of lacquer paint off of something, but you better make sure you get most of it, otherwise you might have problems. This is more than good enough. Also, you may wonder why I'm not pulling the bumper. One simple reason. It's a pain in the ass. I don't want to. I don't have to. I can mask that off. I can spray paint behind that. Maybe you don't think you can do it? Then pull the bumper by all means, but I'm not gonna. Mix up some filler, wipe a little on the heel of this thing. A little bit up here. I did spray some self-etching primer over the rust pits on the heel of the fender. Short of cutting the entire thing out and replacing it, that's pretty much all we can do. It's behind the rocker molding anyway. A little bit in these dings here. And this is the right way to fix that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with body filler. I'm using it correctly. Any body shop you go to, they're gonna do this. They might weld a little better than me if you're going that far, but you're also going to pay thousands upon thousands of dollars to have that done. I'm free. Might have dug in a little bit too far on the top of this fender with my DA, so I'll just go ahead and wipe those grind marks with the filler. Now let's take a break for something easy here and try to fix some of this hail damage in this hood. And I'm just going to fill it. I mean, none of them are deep enough to warrant much else. You're not hammer and dollying something out of a hood. There's structure underneath it. And if you think you're doing paintless dent repair on 60-year-old sheet metal, well, I like jokes too, but no. I should have marked them to remember where they're at, but I didn't. That's a high spot there. Cave and pave, baby. Spread mud on here, and this hood is clearly detached from its inner structure, so let's fix that real quick with window weld. It's basically the same thing that they use from the factory. So if I just inject a little window weld in there, it doesn't have to even be pushed back up into place. It'll just cure and then hold that thing on there. This is basically what they did with that dum-dum from the factory. Just shove a caulk gun in there and inject it in there. I'm running a bead on it. I thought it might look a little better if I did. There, look at that. It's already holding it. We got a little rust in the heel of this fender, not nearly as bad as the other side. And I think the wheel well lip it's acceptable. I see some pinholes. We're not going to know for sure though until we grind it. and get it opened up. I'm going to go ahead and strip this thing to bare metal. We need to let that filler cure just a bit more, and I don't want to disturb our hood too much while we let that urethane set up. That's what we're dealing with there. And here, that's going to be kind of tough to do. I'm thinking probably just a few scraps stitched together. I'll do the heel first because it's easy. I can get that out of this piece of metal, I think. Yeah, I did a better job on this one than the other side, but oh well, no going back now. I don't do things twice. Well, I do, but just like 5 years, 10 years later. That's ugly, but it'll work. Alright, on to this. Let's make this just as ugly. It's horrible. It looks like there's still rust, and that's because there is. It's not actually rust, I just keep burning through over and over, and what that is rust, and there's not much I can do about it, so let's just glass it and, you know, probably pick up a fender in 10 years when we need it. It is completely reasonable in real life to not have enough talent or the proper equipment or the proper parts to fix something like that. I mean, if I could buy a wheel well, I could put that in. I can't form that lip. I just can't do it. So what do? Do you just not do it at all and give up, or do you just do something that's good enough? The coat of short strand is my saving grace. It's not good, but it is good enough. So it's time to summon your inner sculptor and sculpt this thing into the shape of a 64 Lemans. There's actually not a lot of sculpting to do here. You want to stay flat. Flat, 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 flat. That is the most important part of any body work. Flat. Flat, flat. Gotta stay flat. Don't use the edge. The edge is not what you use. You use the flat part. Just go here. I stay flat. I go as far as I'm comfortable knocking it down, and then I hand sand it. Flat. Now I'm going to be feeling this as I'm sanding. Flat. I'm obviously way high now. But you're not going to get like a perfect little dimple where the dent was. Otherwise, it'll be too low. It has to be a little bit too high. You're going to feather that out. And then you block the car with primer to get the rest of it. So just don't dig too deep. Just for example, you can see these 3 kind of fuzzy spots there. That's all the filler that needed. I covered the whole thing to get these 3 divots. That's it. This is actually a little high yet, but it's not bad. So, that is bodywork. Ta-da! Now I just have to do it to the rest of the car. So this fender isn't half bad. Need a little more mud here. I went too far there. And this needs one more coat of it just to help blend. Same here. Needs one more coat just to help blend it. Also, I kind of forgot where the patch was. That's why I dug too deep. So I'm going to go ahead and get that filler on here so it can dry while we block the rest of this. Close my workbench here. Also, feel how solid that thing is now. Excellent. Now that I'm looking at the hood closer, we got a big lake back here and about 4,000 more hail dings. I might as well get them now if I can, or at least get a start on it. A smarter man than me would definitely go find a hood, but I'm not very smart. This whole corner, both of those are laked. That's for probably the hood flew up or something at one time. Well, that's a start on the hood. Lots of blending to do in that corner over here too. This is not going to be the end of this hood, I can tell you that for certain. Hopefully this is good enough to get it into primer. Let me knock this fender down, bounce back to this one. I just want the front clip to be done. Sanding, sanding, sanding. All I do is sanding. And if I stop sanding, we're going to lose the shop. Behold, the air file. This is your friend. When you got something flat like this hood or the roof, quarter panels on this slab-sided car, air file beats the hell out of hand blocking. happy enough with that. That'll block. I think our front clip is ready for primer. I got a little spot putty I'm waiting to dry over here, just trying to blend that edge a little bit better. This is kind of a mess here. I want to see what it looks like under primer. That's really going to be the only way we can fix that. I'm going to go ahead and move on to stripping the roof and the doors, and then we'll work that area, and then we'll move on to the quarters where there will be some more rust repair. Gonna have to make a piece back here, and I don't know, a few things. Last and absolutely least is this piece of junk deck lid. I still can't find one, so we may have to butch it, and I hope you guys are gonna love that when we get there. Put you to work removing the tail panel trim emblems. I guess removing this chrome off of here, off of this beautiful pristine deck lid. The roof of this thing has a lot of rust pitting on it. Very, very minute pits, but they're pits nonetheless. It's also very rough. I think somebody had a dance floor on it. Anyway, I have a little bit of this POR 15 left. I want to see how far I can stretch it. I don't know if I can coat the whole roof, but I want to at least coat the real bad spots. If not, there's a pretty good chance that rust pitting will return. So what we can do with the POR 15 is just put it on there, and we can put our filler or prime right over it. And of course, as I'm putting on the POR 15, it is quite glossy. And you can see very clearly, I hope, just how beat to shit this roof is. It is so freaking bad. I'm gonna have half a gallon of mud in that thing just to cover the whole thing, I think. This would be a great candidate for a vinyl top if I was of the mind to do that, but I'm not. Hopefully this will at least eliminate the rust pitting, but it ain't gonna fix the dents. That is completely treated, and I'm really not looking forward to working that, but I have to. I'll finish stripping the rest of this tomorrow. I'm going to use 180 grit sandpaper on the whole roof to knock this POR 15 down and give us a surface to put filler on and whatever. But before I do that, I should have done this before I put this on actually, but there's all these dents all over the roof, right? Well, when you get a dent, the metal doesn't just disappear. It goes somewhere, right? So when you have a dent, the metal goes on the outsides of the dent. And so use a hammer like this. This is not a ping hammer, but it's got kind of a rounded tip on it. And you find the high side of the dent. I know you can't see it. You wouldn't even be able to see it if I put the camera right on it, but I can feel it. I'm going to go to the high side of the dent and just tap on it. I'm not actually denting that in. I'm moving the metal back into where the dent is. It's not getting rid of the dent, it's just going to allow us to put a film of filler over it. I just want to catch what I can right now, and then when I flat sand the whole thing with 180, I'll be able to see anything I miss. I've got the big spreader out here, and I think we're pretty much, may not have to coat the whole roof in mud like I was initially thinking, but we do got to coat quite a bit of it. Probably out to here. And where that little rust hole was here, I glassed it. It's fine. The middle of the roof is okay. I could probably use that to blend into. I'm going to mix up quite a bit of mud here just to coat the whole thing. But then it comes back off. That's what the, the shock and awe of, oh my God, it's covered in mud. No, not really. It comes back off. But you got to put it on there to take it back off. I'm starting off today by getting the filler on the roof, so it's got plenty of time to set up while we strip the doors. Time management is your friend when it comes to body work. Otherwise, you'll be doing this for the rest of your life, and that would be hell. Now, would it be possible to replace this roof skin? Absolutely. Would it be worth it? Maybe. Would it be probably another 50 hours of work? Yes. Would I be capable of doing it? Maybe. This will probably be, I'd say, close to 8 hours of work to get this roof straight. And it will last just as long, because by the time you put a roof skin on something, especially if you get a reproduction one, guess what your roof is going to look like? This. You're going to have to skin coat it if you want it straight. Well, it looks like a lot, right? But it really isn't. It's very, very thin. There are a few dents. I probably didn't get them with this, but I just want to see what I have to work with. Oops, I put my arm in it there. Time to move on to stripping the doors and quarters. Probably the doors just for now. I got this gimmicky little paint stripper thing. I started using it, immediately started to clog. This lacquer is such a bitch, I was desperate enough to try that. I'll run it till it don't work no more, and then it's back to hundreds of pieces of sandpaper.
I don't know what this stripping wheel is for, but it's definitely not for automobiles. It lasted about 30 seconds.
Well, that was $17 well spent. I got the upper half of this door stripped. I was just going to leave the bottom part of it because the paint's in better shape. Then I touched it with a DA and it just disintegrated. So, crisis averted. However, this door is covered in rust pits, just like the roof. Now, I want to POR 15 it, but I don't think I have enough to do it. And if I'm going to do it, I want to do the whole thing. I'll use this rust converter stuff from Duplicolor, and I've always had good luck with this, just right out of the spray can. I think for the side of the car, it's probably fine. You can see immediately I spray it on and that rust is turning black. That's down in the pits. I can't get it with a sander. This door came out real nice. No rust at all, actually. Very nice. So I'm just going to feel it and see if I feel any dings. And I really don't, actually. There's one here. A little bit down low. I'm not too worried about it. Back edge of this thing. It has done some dinging, but it doesn't have a lot of dings. It's more of a giver, I guess. That'll get us a start on this door. It's not in bad shape at all, just a few little dings and stuff. Let's go ahead and get this knocked down and see what we're working with. Okay, I've been at this a while, and it's not bad. It looks really good. I didn't go far enough here. I got a big low spot right here. That sucks. But the thing is, it's not bad, but it's kind of lumpy, it's kind of wavy, and it's going to be that way. So I have a few options here. Prime and block it about 18 times. Probably not. I could coat the entire roof in icing, very fine body filler, which would work just fine. Or I could feather fill it, which is sprayable body filler. It'll be a hell of a lot easier, and I have some. It's very expensive, and it doesn't keep on the shelf for very long anyway. I need to burn it. So I think I'm going to feather fill it. Now, the thing is, you can't spray feather fill over bare metal. We'll have to put something down. It could just be that spray can self-etching primer. That would be just fine. And, let me put a little bit of icing in this divot here. This is too much for feather fill to do, and just enough for icing to do. Meantime, I'll knock this door out, and then go strip the other door maybe. Kind of bouncing all over, but that's the way it goes. I tell you what, whoever did the lead work on these seams, it must have been a Friday, because they were about half in the bag. I pulled a lot of lead out of this. This car would have been it would have had big lumps on it, I mean, right off the showroom floor. I need to blend it in a little bit better now with some filler, but it's both sides. So both guys, they must have been passing the bottle back and forth. Yeah, I did get this door stripped down. It's pretty good, no rust, but it's a little funky up in here. I may have to have Dad come out and help me get this door gap widened a little bit and then straighten that. I'm not real good with panel gaps. What I do not want is this feather fill to get on anything else of the car, really. I mean, if it settles on the hood and deck lid, that's fine, but I don't want it to build up anywhere. This is feather fill. And it's polyester filler. It's sprayable. So you put it in your paint gun, and then you layer down, and it's like you just coated the whole thing in icing, but you sprayed it right out of a paint gun. You need a big tip on a paint gun. These cheapy siphon feed guns usually do a pretty good job of it, but the last time I sprayed this, I killed like 3 paint guns before I even got the car sprayed. So hopefully this one's got at least a roof in it. It's kind of what I was saying earlier. It's got a shelf life. You can't let it sit around too long, so may as well use some of it before it goes bad. And it mixes 1 quart to 1 tube of hardener. So I'm going to mix a whole cup gun even though it doesn't need it. Oh no! It's okay, this paint gun is sacrificial anyway. Here's the hardener. And once we put this in here and stir it, we've only got like, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes to do this. So you are on a bit of a time crunch. Because once you pour it in there, it starts to catalyze. It gets hot, actually. You'll feel the paint gun warm up. I know I've been super lax on PPE. I'm not going to be with this stuff. This is, you don't want to inhale this crap. favorite part about shooting feather-filled, JD?
What?
Gun's clean. Next morning, the feather fill has had plenty of time to cure. I was a little bit concerned about it possibly wrinkling or shrinking, and it didn't at all, which is great, but we wanted to give it plenty of time to cure. So, what we'll do now is block sand. In essence, block sanding. You can use your palm if you stay flat, and just stay nice and flat. See how it's turning gray? You can see the dark spots in there. See the real dark spot there? We want to get rid of that. That's a low spot. This is actually in the metal. This is not filler, but see that? Now it's nice, perfectly smooth. That's ready to prime, good to go. We just have to do it to the whole roof. Using an air file or a hand block with 180 on it would be ideal, but I don't have any 180 for my air file. And I'm too lazy to hand block, so we'll DA it as much as we can on flat parts, and it works just fine. Just gotta be a little more careful and make sure you stay flat. See here, I was too high with my mud, and that's the point of block sanding. It's okay, it's better to have too much than too little on there. Now, this is pretty much perfect now. The rest of this roof done, and I'll feel pretty good about it. It just needs a couple coats of prime. Dad's out here, he's gonna help me get this door right. The gap is pretty tight at the bottom of it, and adjusting the door is not gonna happen without tearing the front clip off, so. Well, my compressor can only run one air hose at a time. The thing's just dying, it's old. So I'm gonna let Dad work on that fender, and let's work on Dad's 74 GTO he just bought.
I figured as a way to repay Dad for his help on the Lemans, I could at least tune up this GTO and try to figure out a misfire on it. I'm not going to go into it in this video, but if it's something you'd like to see, let me know in the comments, and I could probably put all this footage into a video for the second channel outside the barn.
Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. It's making some good progress here. Secured with self-tappers, ready for me to weld. Just going to overlap it. Be alright. I'll finish blocking the roof.
I finished blocking out the roof, and Dad had moved on from that door to the quarter panel of the car, and he's trying to get the rust fixed in that quarter panel, or at least patched up to the point where it'll last. Again, we're cutting the rust out, we're putting new metal in, it'll last. After I got done with the roof, I decided I probably ought to strip that driver's quarter panel and make sure we weren't having more of the same on that side.
If you can get her.
Oh yeah, weld that in, pound it to fit.
Yeah, that's pretty much all it takes. The rest of it will just be.
It's all down low, so it's whatever. Burn it all the way around it and grind it. It's done.
Coat of glass, coat of mud, coat of ice.
It beats buying a quarter panel.
Well, and it's still solid steel.
This is looking really good. That's looking really good too. Apparently shouldn't use those to... I kept the wheels safe though. Oh, those are hideous, but it'll work. Grind that down, glass it, and then strip the rest of this quarter. This will be pretty well done. Still got to strip about half of this quarter. This quarter's in a lot better shape, except for where the previous owner welded in some metal here, which isn't terrible, I guess, but I got to make a piece. This quarter's stripped. What it lacks in rust, it makes up for in dents. A little hammer dolly work back here, then skim coat. It'll be okay. I've got the inner part of the wheel well made here. This will weld right in place. And then we'll attach an outer part. Easy enough. This quarter's glassed. Fill it, strip it. This is ready for primer at least. I think everything from the doors forward on the car is pretty well done. And the roof is really nice, so we're making good progress. This is still a piece of shit. I'm starting to think I might know what I'm doing. I don't, but It is what it is. Looks good. That's ready for glass. After I hammer and dolly this entire quarter.
This quarter panel is absolutely hammered from stuff sliding around inside the trunk, so most of the dents in it are outward. When you're whipping those shitties around, hey, make sure your bumper jack is bolted down. The key to hammer and dolly work is not necessarily to get the metal perfectly flat. As metal gets dented inwards and outwards, it stretches, and there actually becomes more surface area than there was. There are ways to shrink the metal, and you could make this quarter panel perfect if you spent the rest of your life working on it. What we want to do for an average Joe kind of restoration, we just want to get it flat, and then a skin coat of filler, and it's done.
So that's dollied out, not great. Got some glass on it, got some glass down here. That glass is going to make sure that that stays, well, pretty much forever. Pretty much both sides of this car are going to need blended from about here all the way back. Same thing we did on the roof, just a skin coat. You'll notice my shirt that some hack out in Las Vegas sent this to me. I think his name is, I don't know, Bird Music or something like that. I guess check his channel out if you want. I don't know if he's trying to butter me up so I can beat him at duct tape drags next month or not. I'm glad I bought the industrial size spreaders. That's looking good. I came back out here tonight. I'm going to try to get this quarter knocked down a little bit better, get a coat of mud on it so it's ready to sand tomorrow. I worked from 8 a.m. until 5:30 p.m. and Dad did about the same on this thing. Body work takes time. There's no getting around it. If you want it done right, it's going to take a lot of time. And this isn't even right. This is just good. When the body shop quotes you that much, there's a reason. I knock that down tomorrow when I get home from taking JD to school. Hopefully that's enough to cover it. It's very, very thin. It's just two very thin coats. You know, this is all kind of gobbed. 98% of that's coming off. We need to redefine that line, this body line here, because it's been hammered so badly. I hammered and dollied it as best as I could, but we've got to get a nice crisp line back in that. Bright and early the next morning, let's start sanding again. Dad will be out at some point. He's going to finish up the quarter he was working on over here. This quarter I'll handle right now. It's going to be a lot of board filing. About 45 minutes later, this is ready for icing, not mud. You can see I broke through here, and when you break through, you know that you don't want to go no further than that because you're not going to gain anything. So what we want to do is icing this whole thing again, and then that's going to blend in all these low spots that are in the filler from, you know, covering 4 feet of car and body filler. But look at this. See how this still flexes? It doesn't sound any different than the metal. It's because it's just, I bet it's not even a 1/16 of an inch of filler. And Dad's side is coming along just fine too. Kind of the same thing, just needs a coat of icing. Skin coat of icing on there. That's even thinner than the mud we put on. Well, you could really tell how straight it actually is. That's how you get something straight. If you want your car to wave at you as it drives down the road, well, by all means, make sure it's all steel. Unfortunately, my air compressor died, so we're going to Tractor Supply to buy a new one. It literally just died this morning. There we go. Same one that lasted about 15 years before, so figured why not give it a shot. Alright, we'll be back in business soon. Unfortunately, we haven't got a lot done on that today. But at least we have this dual air compressors now. Well, one air compressor and an extra tank, 160 gallons of a capacity. You'll note that it's securely attached to those pallets. This one's been here for 15 years. It'll be fine. So I'm going to try to get a little bit of work done here. And you can see Dad sprayed some paint over the filler, and that's to kind of give me something to guide with. You know, it's going to tell me where the low spots are. Where the blue is, that's low, obviously. You see here, I've gone too far in a couple of spots. That's a little bit too far. That's a little bit too far, about as far as we want to go. We're low here. We are low somewhere over here. So I would advise you to not do this. Generally, you see there's a sea of thin icing here. So I would advise you to coat the entire thing again if you're going to try to fill those low spots. I'm not going to do that. I purposely left it a little bit fat around this low spot because I knew it might end up being too low. So I'm going to just wipe a little icing here, wipe a little icing here, and knock that down, and it should be good enough to prime. It's ready to go now. I'll probably knock the heads off with the DA and then hand sand it until it feels close. I am about done with the quarters. I've been kind of amazed at the amount of people that think that this is a lot of mud, and it's just not. I don't know how to tell you that. I mean, other than I can demonstrate that it's not. I can stick a magnet to it anywhere. I mean, this is a sort of strong magnet, but if you go to my mixing board here, I mean, we could kind of demonstrate that, like, it kind of wants to stick to this super thick glob here, and then I would say this one's probably roughly a 1/4 inch thick, right? And it kind of wants to stick on it, but not really. Like, it is sticking, but not nearly as hard as it is on this 1/4, and that's because, you know, there's what, probably, I'm serious, probably an 1/8 of an inch, or, I mean, probably less. So hold up your credit card and look at the side of your credit card. That's about how much filler overall is left in this 1/4 panel. It's just very thin. And it could be thicker. That's kind of my point, is that this is thin, and it absolutely could go thicker if it had to, up to at least a 1/4 of an inch. That's not me. That's textbook. That's textbook stuff. This is textbook bodywork. This car will last way longer than it ever did to begin with because of the extra treatment it's getting. Well, I hate to break it to you, but this is the last of the patina going away. Oh no! It's kind of dark back here, and that's a good thing, because you guys want to see some butch work? You think this is butch work? I'll show you some butch work. Oh, hack job. I can't find a deck lid. You guys were generous enough to send me about 100 1965 deck lids, and that would be really helpful if I had a 65. But 1 year only, not reproduced. Therefore, yeah, a little metal tape on the back side, paved, and we will pave with short strand fiberglass. And the only people that'll see this hole will be dead in the trunk. I had a miracle fix in my hands this whole time. Rust fix. Okay, just spray it on and fixed, right? Right? Oh, now we're just going to mix up a skin coat. Just a skin coat of short strand fiberglass is all. Yeah, not much or anything. Will this last? Absolutely not. Will it last maybe a year or two? Yes. I'm going to butcher the thing because I'm not going to let a rusty deck lid stand in the way of me and my perfectly metallic turquoise 64 Lemans. This is kind of what I always mean by you got to know how to do it right to do it wrong. Yeah, see, it's fixed. I went ahead and stripped all that red oxide primer off of the deck lid. All the red dots, every one of those is a hail dent. This thing is absolutely hammered. And unfortunately, I have to make at least that part look straight. I'm going to grind out this filler, and we're going to start laying heaps of body filler on here. Here's the funny part about this deck lid, is the rust isn't even the worst part. See here, see how this is all really shiny? This is high. It's buckled upward. Why? Because it would appear that the deck lid has been ripped in half at some point, or something. I don't know what the hell has happened here. But it's bad. Something has warped the metal to the point where I can't do anything with it. I might try to hammer on it a little, but the only way we're going to get this to be even remotely presentable is to mud it from about here to about here. As you can surely tell, this deck lid is truly just a fine piece of sheet metal. I mean, what a piece of sheet metal. I'm on my second coat of mud now. This is obviously just gobbed on there. You know, okay, if you want it done right, don't do this. But hey, if you got to patch a rust hole and get rid of a car, this is how you do it. I'm just saying. It's pretty good. I mean, that's body butchery 101 right there. It's not bad at all. This is done. We just need some spot putty. And then I think everything up here, this is all just, I mean, it's garbage. This is so not even worth the time, but I have no choice. Back out for one more day. This thing will be in primer in the next few hours. Gotta mask it off, knock down a little bit more mud on this deck lid. It's not too far off. And everything else will come out in the next coat of prime, but you gotta get it on prime. It is now so humid and wet outside that the car has flash rusted in places, so we had to DA over it. But I think that's the best of a really, really bad situation.
Well, that solid weld that guy did in there and the excellent job he did welding ruined this deck lid.
Yes. Yeah, that's not the right way to work on exterior sheet.
What do you mean he warped the piss out of it?
With spot puttying way here, just blending and filling little pins and nicks. And
Yeah, find those little pinholes. That's another thing I wanted to show you. It's like, it's not just for sand scratches, it's pinholes and air bubbles and pocket.
Because anytime you wipe on filler, it's catalyzed. And you wipe on something, you got a little air pocket underneath it. Well, it'll harden right over the top, but as soon as you sand it, you'll have a pinhole left over. So you got to use a little spot putty or a lot of prime and block, either way. But
Both.
so Micah is here with Empire of Rust on YouTube. This is in my driveway. He's doing the Stone Soup tour with this Dodge Lancer. This is from Diecast Dream Customs, and Vic over there has sent me innumerable models of my cars, like custom made 1/64 scale Hot Wheels of my cars. And this is his car that has made a tremendous trip across the country, being hauled from shop to shop, and it went from Micah's place to mine where your brakes went out. So we're working on your truck so you can continue to go to Minnesota actually after here in a square body wrecker.
I was just going to tell them that it's actually not broken. We just like the hood up.
Using U-Pult 2K urethane primer. That's what I usually use around here. It builds like crazy, and it can be used as a sealer. So you spray this over bare metal and it really works really well. So we mix 4-to-1. You could go to the 4-to-1 mark on your cup. I don't. I just mix 8-to-2. I go up to 8 parts, and then I go up to 10. 8 parts primer, 2 parts catalyst. And sometimes I even reduce a little bit. We'll see if I need it. I usually don't, but if it's hot enough, I don't think I'll have to. What I do when I prime is coat all the bodywork first, because I want to make sure that gets at least 1 extra coat, if not 2 or 3 or 4. I'm just going to coat this whole quarter, basically coat the whole deck lid, basically coat the whole roof. So basically I'm going to prime the whole car and then prime it 2 or 3 more times.
I bought a handful of new old stock DeVille Bliss siphon feed spray guns because those are my preferred way to spray, and you can't buy a good one these days. However, this one seemed to be pretty bad out of the box from about 30 years ago, so I fought it for a while before changing guns.
I'll get yelled at if I don't put this on. Oh my God, he doesn't have a mask on, he's gonna die.
There's nothing here.
Nope, it's all gone.
That's the roof. Nobody looks there.
Yeah.
So this is another DeVille Bliss gun I bought. This is an Excel, line, and this shoots exactly how it's supposed to. Look at there. Now it won't take me the rest of my life to prime the car. It'll just take most of the afternoon. Look how good it looks. It's great. As I'm priming, I'm looking for imperfections, dings, divots, things I need to remember. I'll never remember them. And thankfully, you can get around that by guide coding and blocking the primer, which you'll see in the next episode, not this episode, because I would like to take a nap. But you spray it on, you want to see it, it's shiny, like, boom, there's a fuck up right here. Lots of pits in that corner, I didn't sand it well enough. Right there. Yeah, big old door ding here, and fat down here in this corner. Little filler needs to come out. Big old ding, so that's how you find it.
Exactly why you do an overall prime and block for this, all this gray. These are flaws. And they're just a pinhole, but they got to be fixed.
Well, there you have it. It's primed. You see, it's not bad. Not bad. But you're not done. This doesn't mean it's done. There's probably another 100 hours in block sanding this car, priming it again, or maybe even feather filling it. I'm not sure what plan I have just yet. Got some pinholes in the roof here. I know Dad pointed out. I actually knew they were there. I was kind of hoping the primer would fill it in, but we'll see if the block sanding gets rid of some of it. I am incredibly tired. I have like, I don't know, 80 hours of work in this, and Dad's probably got another 20 in it, 15, 20 this week, and that's about 6 days, 5, 6 days maybe, and yeah. I'm tired, but it is a downhill slope from here. Like, this was the hard stuff. After this, it is just block sanding. But this is where skill comes into play. I mean, I would think that most people can get a car to this point. This is what I would call roughed in. You could paint this car white right now and it'd probably be presentable. But if you painted it black, everyone would call you an idiot. We'll make a car out of this thing. Don't worry about it. So, thanks for watching. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll probably do a different kind of video in between this car and the next time you see this car. And then I also have to build that Buick Skylark before we drive to Tucson, because I haven't really done anything to it. I should be getting my parts for that in the next couple of days. So there's going to be a couple other cars mixed in here, but stay tuned. We should have this thing painted in a month, I would think. But there's a long road to get there, and if you want to learn how to do it, well, this is probably your best place to learn how to do it from someone who I could produce a car in this. You know, this is not no $1 million shop, not filled with millions of dollars of tools. All this is like Harbor Freight stuff or pawn shop stuff. Okay, you know, you can do this, and maybe that makes me trash. I don't care. Okay, we're all probably a little bit trash. So anyway, we'll see you next time on Pole Barn Garage.